The snow was falling heavily that December evening, the kind of snow that transforms a city into something quieter, softer, almost reverent. The streetlights cast a warm glow through the swirling flakes, and the buildings along Madison Avenue looked like something from an old Christmas card, their windows golden with light against the deepening twilight. James Crawford stood outside his office building, a tall structure of glass and steel, where he'd spent the last 12 hours in back-to-back meetings. He was 42 years old, with dark brown hair styled neatly back, and he wore an expensive black overcoat over his suit. A silver watch caught the light on his wrist as he checked the time. Nearly 7 o'clock. Another long day and a long string of them. He was the CEO of Crawford Industries, a commercial development firm his father had founded 30 years ago. James had taken over 5 years earlier, and he'd grown the company substantially. Success, they called it. Though lately, standing alone on winter evenings like this, James wasn't entirely sure what success meant anymore. His driver was running late, caught in traffic somewhere across town. James stood near the building's entrance, snow collecting on his shoulders, watching the city move around him. People hurried past with their heads down, rushing to get home, to get warm, to get to wherever they needed to be. That's when he noticed her, a little girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old, standing near the iron railing that bordered the building. She had light blonde hair pulled back in a small ponytail, and she wore a tan winter coat that looked slightly too thin for this weather. A red dress or sweater showed underneath, and her small backpack sat at her feet. Her boots were worn but practical, the kind a mother buys hoping they'll last through the winter. But it was her face that caught James's attention. She looked lost, worried. Her eyes were scanning the sidewalk, watching each person who passed as if searching for someone specific. James felt a familiar tug of concern, the same instinct that had made him stop countless times before, when he saw someone who needed help. Most people probably walked right past her, too absorbed in their own lives to notice a small child standing alone in the snow. He approached slowly, not wanting to frighten her. "Excuse me," he said gently, crouching down so he was closer to her eye level. "Are you all right? Are you waiting for someone?" The little girl looked at him with wide eyes, blue and frightened, and James could see she'd been crying. Her cheeks were red from the cold, and snowflakes had settled in her hair like tiny stars. "Sir," she said, her voice trembling, "my mom didn't come home last night." The words hit James like a physical blow. This child, this tiny girl standing in the snow, was telling a stranger that her mother was missing. His mind immediately went to all the terrible possibilities, but he kept his expression calm and reassuring. "What's your name, sweetheart?" he asked softly. "Lucy. Lucy Chen." "Hi, Lucy, I'm James. Can you tell me what happened?" "Where do you live?" Lucy's lower lip trembled. "We live on Maple Street, the apartment with the blue door. Mommy usually comes home from work by dinner time, but she didn't come home last night. Mrs. Peterson, our neighbor, she watched me and gave me breakfast. But she had to go to work today, so she told me to go to school. But I'm scared. What if something bad happened to Mommy?" James felt his chest tighten. This child had been alone, worried sick about her mother, and she'd still gone to school because that's what she'd been told to do. The trust and vulnerability in that simple act was heartbreaking. "Lucy, did Mrs. Peterson call the police? Or try to find out where your mom is?" "I don't know. She said Mommy probably just had to work late and forgot to call. But Mommy always calls. Always. Even when she has to work late. She always tells me." James pulled out his phone. "Lucy, I'm going to help you find your mom, okay? But first, we need to make sure you're safe and warm. It's very cold out here. Where were you planning to go right now?" "I was going to walk home, to see if Mommy was there. But I'm not sure I remember all the way. We just moved here 2 months ago." The thought of this little girl trying to navigate the city alone in a snowstorm, searching for her missing mother, was more than James could bear. He made a decision. "Lucy, I want to help you. Would it be okay if I came with you? We can go to your apartment together and see if your mom is there. And if she's not, we'll figure out where she is. Does that sound all right?" Lucy studied his face for a long moment, and James could see her weighing her options. Stranger danger versus the desperate need for help. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, but you seem nice. You have kind eyes. Mommy says you can tell if someone is kind by their eyes." "Your mommy sounds like a smart woman." "Come on, let's get you somewhere warm." James texted his driver to cancel, then gently took Lucy's hand. It was so small in his and so cold even through her mittens. He led her down the sidewalk, and she directed him toward Maple Street, which was about 8 blocks away. As they walked through the falling snow, James asked gentle questions, trying to piece together what had happened while also keeping Lucy's mind occupied. "Tell me about your mom, Lucy. What's her name?" "Grace. Grace Chen. She works at the hospital." "She's a nurse. She helps people get better when they're sick or hurt. That's a very important job." "She must be very caring." "She is. She's the best mommy in the whole world. She reads me stories every night, and she makes the best pancakes, and she always knows how to make me feel better when I'm sad." James felt a lump forming in his throat. "She sounds wonderful." "And what about your dad? Is he at home?" Lucy shook her head. "Daddy died when I was a baby. I don't remember him. Mommy says he was very brave. He was a firefighter." Of course he was, James thought. This family had already endured so much, and now the mother was missing. Life could be unbearably cruel sometimes. They walked in silence for a moment, and James noticed how Lucy kept glancing at the people they passed, still searching every face for her mother. The hope and fear in her expression was almost too much to witness. "Lucy," James said gently, "when was the last time you saw your mom?" "Yesterday morning, before school. She kissed me goodbye and said she'd see me after work. She was working the day shift, so she was supposed to be home by dinner. But she never came." "And Mrs. Peterson, the neighbor who watched you, she didn't seem worried?" "She said grown-ups sometimes have things come up. That mommy probably just got busy. But I know mommy wouldn't forget about me." "Something must be wrong." The conviction in Lucy's voice, the absolute certainty that her mother wouldn't abandon her, spoke to a bond that James found himself envying. His own childhood had been comfortable but cold. His parents more interested in building their business than building relationships with their only son. They turned onto Maple Street, a row of older apartment buildings with fire escapes climbing their facades. Lucy led him to a building halfway down the block, painted a faded yellow with a blue door at the entrance, just as she'd described. "This is it," Lucy said, her voice smaller now, as if she was afraid of what they might find. Or not find. James held the door as they climbed the stairs to the second floor. Lucy stopped at apartment 2B and reached into her backpack, pulling out a key on a string that she wore around her neck. "Mommy gave me this for emergencies," she explained. "She said I should never go into the apartment alone if she's not home. But this is an emergency, right?" "Yes, sweetheart. This is definitely an emergency." Lucy unlocked the door and they stepped inside. The apartment was small but tidy, with furniture that had clearly been chosen for function rather than style. But there were touches everywhere that spoke of love. Drawings taped to the refrigerator, a vase of fresh flowers on the kitchen table, photographs on every available surface showing a beautiful Asian woman with a bright smile holding a little girl at various ages. Grace Chen, James presumed. Lucy's mother. "Mommy?" Lucy called out, her voice echoing in the empty apartment. "Mommy, are you home?" Silence. The apartment had that particular stillness of a place where no one had been for hours. Lucy's face crumpled. "She's not here." "Where is she?" "Where's my mommy?" James knelt down and pulled the little girl into a gentle hug as she began to cry. "It's okay, Lucy. We're going to find her. I promise. But first, let me make some phone calls, all right?" He stood and pulled out his phone, first calling the local hospitals. He explained the situation, describing Grace Chen, a nurse who should have come home from work the previous evening. The first 2 hospitals had no record of her as a patient. The third hospital, City General, put him on hold for several minutes. Lucy sat on the couch, clutching a stuffed rabbit, watching James with frightened eyes. Finally, the hospital administrator came back on the line. "Mr. Crawford, I do have some information. Grace Chen is one of our nurses. She came in for her shift yesterday morning, but she collapsed during her lunch break. She'd been running a high fever and was severely dehydrated. She's been admitted as a patient. She's stable now, but she's been quite ill." Relief flooded through James. "Is she conscious?" "Can she have visitors?" "She is, though she's very weak. And yes, visitors are allowed. I should mention, she's been quite distressed. She keeps asking about her daughter, trying to get out of bed to go home. We've had to convince her multiple times that we've contacted her. Emergency contacts. Who are her emergency contacts?" Let me see. Mrs. Helen Peterson. We've left several messages but haven't heard back. Of course, Mrs. Peterson was at work. Lucy had said as much. Grace Chen had been lying in a hospital bed, sick and worried about her daughter, while that same daughter had